say the wrong name. I can't say that one. Leah, how does Carla say her last name? Can I say Carla Smith?
Yeah.
I didn't know if she was...
Well, Cordonier, that's her maiden name, Carla Cordonier Smith.
Are we ready? Good evening. Welcome to Meet the Candidate Night 2020. This is going to be interesting. We've never had to do this through COVID, so bear with us. We are social distancing. People have been told to keep their masks on. They are allowed to take them off when they speak. We have 3 candidates that were not able to make it tonight. Michael Ahern, Carla Smith, and Justice Brown are not here. The rest of them are here to answer our questions. We're going to get started. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to introduce themselves and tell us why they want to be on Swartz Creek School Board. We randomized at the beginning, and the first person will be John Sayer. John.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is John Sayer. I am 19 years old. I'm currently attending Mock Community College, and I'm a graduate of the 2019 class from Swartz Creek. I spent 13 years here at Swartz Creek. I started at Cyrene and worked my way through. And throughout all of that, I believe I've seen some of the best that Swartz Creek has to offer. We truly have some of the world's best teachers here. They care about their students, and they really do a lot for them. And I think that's one of the best things about Swartz Creek. And I see me running not as an opportunity to actually tear apart our system or bring about exponential changes, but instead to actually build up Swartz Creek from where it already is. And I think Swartz Creek is already on a pretty good foundation for that building. Obviously, you put the roof on top of the walls. As a very recent student and currently a student at college, I've experienced some of the different challenges that many students face within the last 2 years and still today. From big issues like COVID, bullying and drugs, to other issues like stress and homework. I get it from a student's perspective, more recently than aside from maybe Mr. Brown, how that truly feels. And I believe that I have very good ideas. I believe I have big ideas, and I believe that Swartz Creek is a good place to really help students through their journeys in life. This campaign from the start has never been about me as a person, but instead about the community, the teachers, the administration, and all of our students here, and truly bettering them, and they are actually the reason that I'm running.
All right, thank you very much, John. The next person on our list is Michael Ovsenik. I hope I said it right.
That's right. My name is Michael Ovsenik. I'm a 38-year-old father of 2. Charles is 8. He's in 3rd grade at Elms Road. And Althea is 5. She just started kindergarten this fall at Moorish. I have been married to my wife, Marie, for 11 years. Marie works at Elms Elementary in the wellness room. Your children might know her as Mrs. O. She talks to everyone. Everywhere we go, Meyer, everywhere kids recognize her. We have lived in Swartz Creek since 2008. I work at a local hospital as a strategic planner. I do analysis for the leaders of our hospital, planning new purchases, projects, and hiring personnel. I focus on data-driven decision-making in the presentations that I put together. In my spare time, I have coached AYSO soccer for Swartz Creek 512 and participate on the AYSO board as the coach administrator. I've participated in the school bond oversight committee since its inception, making sure everyone in the community knows all of the great things the bond has done and will do. My son Charles has attended Elms Road from kindergarten to 2nd grade, and he's in 3rd grade now, as I mentioned. I've participated in PTA events and attempt to help out in the school as much as I can. I firmly believe parents being involved on the ground floor is the only way to really get an idea of what school is really like for their children. The Watchdogs program at Elms Road is one of the best I've seen to encourage father figures to enter the school and volunteer. Helping kids see that dads and grandparents and other people do care about their school and education. I was inspired to run for school board by the recent millage the community passed, the first of its kind in almost 50 years, because it reflected a true investment in our students and community. I helped put out yard signs and talk to people in the community. This bond will be a boon to our students and community for years to come. When I started getting more into the bond process, I looked at our board and really felt that we should have more parents on the board to make decisions that work for working families. I feel like without a vested interest in the schools, it is easy to be above it all and just feel like you're elected to make decisions, not listen to your constituents. My children will be in Swartz Creek schools for the next 13 years, so I will be immersed in all of it for a long time. A vote for me will ensure a vote for someone who will listen to you and take your thoughts into any decision our board makes. I have chosen to run with Mr. Michael Ahern because I respect his decision-making abilities, his willingness to listen, and his experience as the school board treasurer. I have gotten to know his family the last several months, and they are great people. I appreciate your consideration on November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Next, we have Carrie Germain.
Hello, my name is Carrie Germain, and it's a pleasure to be here tonight. And I want to thank Wanda and Heather and Robin for organizing tonight's event. Thank you so much, ladies. I just want to tell you a little bit about myself. My best friend and husband, who's in the audience, Rick, and I have lived in the Swartz Creek community for over 39 years, where we chose to live and raise our 4 children, Aaron, Amanda, Austin, and Amelia, who are all Swartz Creek graduates. We were active in school activities with our children for over 20 years, including scouting, parent organizations, fundraising, band, and athletics. Over the past 13 years, it's been my honor and privilege to serve our students, the district, and community as a member of the Swartz Creek Board of Education. It's a responsibility I take very seriously with the goal of positively affecting the academic growth and future success of our children. I'm running for re-election to the Swartz Creek School Board because I believe that our students should be at the center of everything that we do. This philosophy has remained in place since I joined the board, and it includes supporting our administrative staff, our families, and our students, and it's very important that we continue to do that. More now than ever, our district needs continuity, stability, and experience on a Board of Education. In addition to my 13 years of board service, I would ask that you consider the value that I bring related to my background and my experience. I have over 40 years of experience in business as a pharmacist and a volunteer and board member for various community groups, organizations, and professional associations. Service on these boards and leadership roles has provided me with a clear understanding of a board member's role and their responsibility. I bring to the table emphasis on leadership, relationship building, strategic planning, and budget and personnel management. I employ a data-driven collaborative approach to making decisions, improving quality and processes, and implementing best practices where we can. Challenges brought about by the state's economy and uncertain impact on funding and budgets are issues that I face in healthcare every day. I also understand what it means to make important and sometimes very challenging decisions about cost containment and efficiency enhancements while improving quality and outcomes. At the end of the day, if you ask me what my greatest role is, it's been with my husband as a parent to our 4 great kids who've learned what it means to really work hard and to help others in the community. I want to thank you for your support, and I look forward to the opportunity to continue serving our children, families, and the community on the Swartz Creek Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Next, we have Leah Davis.
Hello. I want to thank you for being able to do all this and help us to get here and collaborate and discuss who we are and our vision for the future for the kids, the Swartz Creek School District. And it's an honor for me to participate and be a candidate for school board. And I grew up in a Judeo-Christian nation, pledging allegiance with the rest of my classmates in Belleville, Grand Rapids, Livonia, and Witsum, Michigan. Went to about 4 different high schools growing up. Pledging allegiance was always a comfort to me, knowing the classroom prayed together in unity as patriots that love God and country. I moved around a lot. As you might expect, it wasn't always easy adjusting to the challenges of an ever-changing environment. However, I always tried to put my best foot forward and enjoyed meeting new friends along the way. My religious experience was very similar in that I was exposed to many different faiths as well. The stabilizing force of my young life was my grandparents, who were devout Catholics, which helped to keep structure for a child in a single parent and sometimes tumultuous household. Dad was a practicing Buddhist for a while, then found Jesus as Savior around the same time I did it in 1976 at the age of 7. I grew up very interested in philosophy and religion and remember eagerly staying after school to attend Bible study at Tyler Elementary. This precious time sowed the seeds of security and calm, which was what I very much needed as a child of a broken home. In my early adult age, I wanted to seek more and find out who this Judeo-Christian God really was and what I needed to do to tap into his reality and existence. I aced my courses at U of M Flint and studied under various sects such as Charismatic Catholics, First Assembly, Non-Denominational Baptist, and even the Jehovah's Witnesses. Throughout my faith journeys, I have learned similarities and also major differences. All in all, I have learned to trust the Bible, King James Version, and find its wisdom and comforts along life's challenges and obstacles. The Word has always been a light along my path. I feel I have grown closer to my Creator after all these years and never would have imagined He would have allowed me to live in such an uncertain time as this, where walking by faith has become utmost inevitable. We are not always certain of the answers, but if we apply what we know about what God says, we are rest assured He will follow through in His promises. We are not guaranteed tomorrow, but we are guaranteed salvation in Christ. That's why I am here today. The opportunity arose to help make a difference for the children and their families along with the teachers of the community, and I am honored to be a candidate for the school board. I hope to bring reasoning conservatism to the table the same way the good Lord has always brought it to me throughout my own life's journey.
Thank you, Leah. Next, we have Jason Bennett.
Hi, my name is Jason Bennett. I've been married to my wife Rachel for 15 years, I'm sorry. We've lived in Swartz Creek for 13 years. We bought our first house here based on recommendations from friends that we got to know, acquaintances that I got to know working in the area. I became actively involved with the Swartz Creek Chamber of Commerce and started to like the area, so that's when we began to pursue buying our first home here. We recently sold that home and bought elsewhere within the district. We have 3 children in the district right now. Our youngest son, Harrison, has started kindergarten this year at Morris Elementary. Our middle son, Carter, is in 3rd grade at Elms, and our oldest, Jackson, is in middle school. This year, he just started 6th grade. I've always had a firm belief that parents should be actively involved in their children's activities and schooling, and with that belief, I've always made it my goal to be as active as I can. I've coached youth football for 4 years, youth basketball for a year, and I was a Cub Scout leader for my middle son. I got engaged in the school board and their education as they entered school, and that engagement and my interest started to peak more as the bond came, the thought of these improvements and what impact that would have on the district, and then even more so as the elementary elementary model change conversation began. And I felt that it was in my best interest to step up and do my part to try and shape their education as best I could as a member of the board. As I looked at the board, I saw a lack in parents from the elementary levels. You know, the board members with children in the district are from middle school and high school, and that is it out of the 7. And I feel that as I've spoken to parents and to the teachers within the district, it's the voices of them that seem to be missed and not considered in some of the decisions that are made. So that was a strong influence on why I chose to run.
All set?
Yeah.
Thank you. Next is Jessica LeNave.
Hi, I'm Jessica LeNave, and my best friend is here too. His name's Jim LeNave. Oh my goodness. And we have been in Swartz Creek now, I'm not supposed to hit the table, for 18 years, been married for over 23 years. Our 2 girls, started school in Swartz Creek, went from pre-K, and now they are both in high school, both active, involved in multiple sports in the district. One's even in the band. That has contributed to my level of involvement and participation in the district. However, not all of my volunteering within Creek was connected to my kids. I've served on multiple boards for over 20 years in the community, grown a business that teaches and inspires people to help others for over 15 years, and I volunteer on a regular basis. I know that I have the knowledge, skills, and experience to continue to be a productive, engaged Swartz Creek board member, helping our district to grow and address challenges. My desire to serve this district in this capacity comes from my belief in being of service to others, helping them succeed. That education and people's experiences they are growing up are very important, presently and for years to come. I had an amazing education growing up, and many people within the district made that possible. I know my skill set is well utilized in board work, and I hope to continue to contribute to others having a great education in Swartz Creek. I'm values-driven, I'm solution-focused, inquisitive, attentive, enthusiastic, pretty good-humored, and committed. I understand the roles and responsibilities of a school board member, and I enjoy being a cheerleader for our students and staff while still being focused on accountability, which I will say thank you very much, ladies, and DeWanda, if she's still out there, and you guys up there for putting all this together for us, really. I was appointed 2 years ago to fill a vacated position on the Swartz Creek School Board. Since then, I have attended nearly all of the committee meetings, and I have attended all the board meetings, and I actively participate. I am currently the board secretary and the Swartz Creek representative for the Genesee County Association of School Board Members. I say that to hopefully illustrate to you that I'm committed and invested in this district, and I take being a school board member here, I treat it with respect, diligence, and thoughtfulness. It's a very humbling experience to know that I'm representing not just everybody, well, that I am actually representing everybody in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Before we move on to questions, I want to remind you guys to keep your eye on Heather. She will give you a hand motion when you have 20 seconds, and then you need to wrap up at that time. The first question we have, just so you guys all know, the candidates received these 3 questions beforehand so they could prepare how they wanted to answer. The first question, we'll start off with Michael. You will all have an opportunity, just like we just did the other. The first question is, talk about the school district's role concerning COVID-19 going forward.
So I'll say, I think the 3 modalities have been a great idea. We need to focus on the safety of our students and staff first. That is paramount. We can compromise on a lot of things like structure, budget, sports, etc., but we cannot compromise on our health and our safety of our students and staff. Our safety plans and the dashboard that the admin have put together have worked pretty well. One of the biggest issues I've seen, talking to other parents, talking to teachers, talking to students, is that many parents feel like a stranger in their kid's school because they're physically not allowed to go into the school, and I understand why, and that's totally fine. If they're face-to-face students, then they can't go into the school. Maybe their student is online and they've never physically met their kid's teacher in person, and they've lost that semblance of a school environment. It's a tough challenge, but we need to figure out a solution, whether it's just a short weekly video from students' teachers of them doing classwork and teaching, as long as that's okay. I realize there's some students that can't be on camera or anything like that. An update call with parents once or twice a month by the principal or other people within the school. A town hall put on by the admin to answer questions about any changes, especially when the next semester rolls around. I think we will definitely need something like that because there's a lot of questions that people have. We need parents to feel connected so that their students can succeed while understanding we're in an unprecedented situation that is putting a ton of work on our staff. We've got our feet on the ground better now, and helping parents feel like they are part of the school will help their students succeed. We always do a great job of this during regular school years. We also need to make sure our online solutions are working. I've heard from many parents that those are tough right now, and we need to figure that out.
Thank you, Michael. Next, Carrie.
Sure. So in the face of the pandemic, the Swartz Creek administrators and staff continue to work tirelessly, and we cannot thank them enough for all that they've done to provide the learning modalities and to keep our students, their families, and the staff safe. Although it's challenging for everyone involved, these efforts, practices, and priorities are likely to be in place for the foreseeable future. It's critical for the students and families to have flexible learning options and resources that support academic growth and achievement in a safe environment. Swartz Creek has been a leader and a model for other districts and when they asked parents to choose one of the 3 learning options and then allowed them for the best choice for their student and their family needs. Going forward, plans should include ways to also provide equitable access for all students to technology, educational, social, and mental health services, as well as food and possibly internet if the district could facilitate that. Going forward, administrators and the school board must continue to involve parents, students, and staff in conversations about the modalities, asking what is working and what isn't. How are students, families, and staff adapting? Where are there improvements that are needed? And what metrics should we be using to measure student growth? Swartz Creek Board, administrators, and staff are committed to a safe learning environment for students and staff. As COVID cases continue to rise, and they are, district teams will continue to employ preventive strategies, including compliance with masks and protective equipment, proper social distancing, hand washing, scheduling to reduce exposure, and disinfection to reduce the transmission among the students, families, and staff. District leadership will also continue their collaboration with the county health officials and to report those cases and contact tracing. And it's important that the board has that information to make their decisions. The district team will also continue communications to the community and remind them about safe practices. And I just want to mention Mr. Menka did send out to the staff today a survey to see how they were all doing, which is really important.
Thank you. Leah, you're next. I'll read the question one more time so the audience remembers what we're talking about. Talk about the school district's role concerning COVID-19 going forward.
As civil servants and Christians, it is said that we are to honor our authority but never be unconditionally submissive to it. No one should allow themselves to be taken advantage of, hurt, or abused. We need to protect others as well as ourselves. In the case of COVID-19, we are protecting ourselves from what are we protecting ourselves from exactly? Infection or fear of being ostracized? When does safety override quality of life? Last I knew, life is a risk. Families are divided in how they feel about the virus. Some are more concerned than others. The science isn't exact. It's unfair to generalize what's best for everyone. That's why I feel blessed that our family and child have been able to choose in Swartz Creek District which modality they can attend during this uncertain time. Autonomy and choice are very important in the healthy growth and independence of a person. We should be allowed to think and make up our own minds on what's best for our individual needs. However, when it appears one person's decision affects another person's indirectly, especially in a negative way, that's where the fear lies in the mask issue. Thus, generalizing is what has become the option for the students at this point, for fear of liability. However, there is evidence masks are not as helpful and may cause more harm than good if they are not used as appropriately designed when within a hospital or medical setting. If you can smell through them, chances are viruses can get through them too. The lack of evidence to firmly back either side causes err on the side of caution to take place.
You have 20 seconds.
The school just recently ruled to follow the Department MDHHS emergency guidelines for now with a vote 6 yeas and 1 nay regarding children K through 5 to wear a mask while in school. I understand this issue will be subject to court eventually, just like the governor's executive orders mandates did a couple weeks ago. If a child is medically contraindicated to wear a mask, then of course it is illegal to enforce them, as the school liability is the school
Okay,
liable
your
if
time-
a
I'm sorry, Leah.
if
I
a
have
child
to- Your time is up,
gets
hon,
injured-
I'm sorry.
okay.
We're going to move on. The next person would be Jason Bennett. Do you want me to read the question again, sir?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Thank you.
First, I would have to agree. I think the district has done great things to help students move forward during this. The 3 modality options are great. And so as we move through it and learn to function day to day with this, I think that it's important that the school continues to focus on the safety and the well-being of the students and the teachers on a regular basis, and continue to communicate things with parents through items like the dashboard and the emails that have been going out, and through teacher communication. I also think that it's time to start looking at their well-being in classrooms, not only the students and the lack of interaction and play that they're getting, and start thinking about things that we can do to help build on that and help improve their well-being during that, but also for the teachers. They have that separation from their colleagues, right? They don't get the collaboration that they once had, and that day-to-day interaction. So start looking at the health and well-being of the teachers as well, and what we can do as a district to help improve that as we move forward through this, because who knows how long it'll last or if it goes away in the near future. But I think, outside of continuing to focus on health and safety, to continue to evaluate what we're doing, what programs students are in, and if that program's right for them. Obviously, the parents have made a choice for that student, or the students made a choice on modalities, but what can we do to further reach those students if they're struggling with that, and continue to have that involvement and those connections, and does it need increased? So I think it's just constant evaluation, constant communication, and reaching out to those especially those that are struggling.
Thank you. Jessica?
Sure. First, our staff, all of them, have done a phenomenal job, given all the circumstances and uncertainties for this year. And I've said it before, I think you guys are all rock stars. Thanks a lot. You do a great job. And I'll say thank you to the parents as well, and families, our community members, for being so patient through all of this. I think our district must continue to stay diligent with our safety protocols and communicate to staff, students, and families what must be done to keep ourselves and each other safe and healthy, and provide the supplies to make that possible in our schools. Our board and administrators need to continue to closely monitor COVID cases in our district and adjust our ECOL plan accordingly. Our district needs to continue to work closely with the Genesee County Health Department and take guidance from the Genesee County Health Department and state agencies. We must be willing to refine and/or change our ECOL plan to do our best to ensure the health and well-being of our students and staff, and be mindful about student achievement and growth in the different modalities. Getting input from our teachers, students, and families is crucial to help us make decisions, and we need to honestly look at what is and isn't working. I think we need to continue to be aware and address the challenges of the varied impacts of the different learning modalities, the level of engagement from students and their parents, and as well impacting their child's education, how our students connect or don't with our staff and each other, the mental and emotional health issues for students and staff, disruptions in educating students and extracurricular activities, helping our families to have food and connect them with the other needed resources that they may need. We need to be adaptable, understanding, and patient with each other and the situation as a whole, recognizing there will be long-term ramifications in addition to the short-term ones identified.
Thank you, Jessica. Let me just put out a little reminder. We agreed before we started we would take our mask down to speak, but otherwise keep it up. Thank you. Next we have John. Do you want me to repeat the question?
Go ahead.
The question was, talk about the school district's role concerning COVID-19 going forward.
Well, much like everyone before me has said, our district has gone really above and beyond in terms of what's been asked of us. We've had protocols put into place, whether it be from our governor, our state houses, or our federal legislatures, and we have followed those protocols really well, but we've gone above and beyond with the 3 modalities that everyone's talking about, whether it be an in-person student, an online student, or a mix thereof. And I think some good points were brought here where we do need to have more engagement with parents to see where those students are, so the parents are involved in their students' lives as well. And I think it is paramount to make sure we keep our students, staff, and our community safe while following those protocols, and I think we've done a really good job with it. Ultimately, I believe that it is important to listen to our district and our parents and everyone to really see where they stand and also keep our community safe. And so it is my goal to listen to our community and bring forward their issues, if you would, and make sure that not only are the issues addressed, but that they're resolved in a timely manner. So whether that be from masking or social distancing or getting the parents involved, I think it's the role of the board to ensure that those parents' issues are resolved. Thank you.
Thank you, John. The next question is, discuss the changes that you envision for Swartz Creek schools in the future. The first person will be Carrie.
Well, thank you. This is the best part because we get to talk about the fun stuff and the great things. So our talented administrators and staff have collaborated for a very long time on innovative programs, tools, and curriculum that have positioned the district very well as we support students on their journey. Even in these unprecedented times, I will predict and we will continue to progress in the following areas. Continued investments in innovative curriculum strategies that support academic growth with a strong focus on literacy and STEAM education, K through 12. Access for all of our students to technology to support academic growth, and that includes devices and platforms, and Travis is cringing up there. Completion of bond projects that support the curriculum enhancements that I just spoke of, as well as student safety. Increased investment in programs and tiered systems of support that will allow the district teams to assess our students and customize interventions that meet all of our students' academic, social, and emotional needs, which will be very important now and after the pandemic. Support for student and staff mental and emotional health, and connections for families who could benefit from community resources like food or utility payments or help with their mortgage. Competitive compensation benefits and incentive systems for our talented administrators, educators, and support staff. Expansion of the fine arts program and foreign language options that are beginning in the elementary level. Expanded technical and skilled trade program opportunities for all of our students who are maybe not choosing to go to college. Expanded AP classes and dual enrollment options for students to earn their high school and college credits simultaneously. If we are successful in these areas, Swartz Creek will become a destination district for students, families, and staff who are looking for innovative educational and professional experience in a caring and compassionate culture.
Thank you, Carrie. Next, Leah.
What most important is the school curriculum. As a Christian, I believe schools should uphold wholesome guidelines for sound education, promoting integrity and subject matter which preserve the innocence of childhood and mold them into well-rounded thinkers and decision makers as young adults. Teaching children how to think instead of what to think is key. The role of schools should be to help children discover their talents and support their ambitions toward building their skills to accomplish future goals and endeavors. Whether they be college-bound, trade school, or internet sensations, children need inspiration and support while they learn to become their own pioneers and entrepreneurs. Schools need to advocate each student to embrace challenges, set goals, reason with sound judgment, and believe in their ability to become functioning and thriving members of society. With the world so divided these days, sound judgment is most important in discerning how to go forward in their decisions. The lack of patriotism these days is another point I wanted to bring up. The schools should help children be proud of their heritage and country, yet it seems the propaganda on the media tells them their ancestors were nothing but racist, and history needs to be rewritten with indoctrinating ideals. It's heartbreaking to see our country be torn down like it is when most of us grew up with memories, appreciation for the lessons and opportunities in life that made us who we are today. Train up a child in the way he should go, he or she should go, and he or she should never part. Proverbs 22:6. Our children are our future. Let's teach them how to think and not what to think. Let them see all sides and embrace freedom of speech as a right to respect. The curriculum is so very important in molding them into reasonable and functional human beings. I believe conservative values are important to protecting the innocence of children and the integrity of their education.
Thank you, Leah. Next, we have Jason.
Thanks. So, yeah, my vision for the future is to continue building off of what we have as a district, to continue to focus on becoming that bigger school feel within a small town community. Still have that small community feel, but have the offerings of a bigger district. But, and I think, you know, as a district, we have a chance right now with this model change. While myself and other parents may have been against it at the time, I think we put ourselves in a great position to focus on early education, especially that K through 12 age, or K through 2 age, I'm sorry, which is going to set that foundation for their education in the future. To focus on a strong education at the early years that'll carry through the rest of their education. I also see us continuing with our financial performance and looking at ways that if it becomes necessary to make budget cuts, that we do so they don't impact the student or their education directly, or the teachers for that matter, and we can look at things that can be cut from the top down and have the least amount of impact on a student's education. And I just see our district continuing to grow and become that place where parents and grandparents and the students have pride of where they came from, whether it's the buildings, the amenities, the educational system that we've put in place. And sorry, lost it.
Okay, are you all
Sorry.
set?
I'm good.
All right. I'm going to repeat the question again. Discuss the changes you envision for Swartz Creek schools in the future. And next we have Jessica.
Thank you. I know your questions were a little meant to be somewhat vague, and so my answer is going to be a little vague in that I don't do so well, my brain doesn't do well envisioning physical changes, so I'm not necessarily going to be talking about that. But for interactions and outcomes, I'll say that my vision for the Swartz Creek Community Schools is to have a thriving school system and community, rich in diversity of ideas, experiences, and people cohesively working together, providing an education and sets of skills that allow people to go out into the world and be useful, productive, and open to the world and the people that they encounter, because they had a safe and supportive, engaging education and community that they either were or are a part of here in Swartz Creek. Our district encompasses urban, suburban, and rural areas. I think we have a lot to learn, to continue to learn and understand from each other, and I think our Creek expectations set the groundwork for our students to leave our district, really at any age, hopefully, to take and be a positive impact wherever they may go. I think there is a possibility that the different modalities could be offered in some form permanently to meet the needs of people's learning styles, and I see us continuing to effectively implement our educational plans. I envision our district continually improving student academic achievement with our curriculum alignment, focus on our STEAM education, and really truly our awesome teachers make that possible. I envision our district having student growth as our MTSS and ACEs assessments help identify and address individual student needs, and our trauma-informed care helps address the mental health issues and other issues impacting our students and their chances for learning. I envision the completion of the bond projects in our schools being vibrant with student and community activity. I envision our district remaining financially stable and responsible, and I envision our district leadership continuing to function harmoniously. And lastly, I envision the development of our strategic plan in implementing growth.
Thank you, Jessica. We have John.
Thank you. As I have said previously, I do believe that Swartz Creek is an amazing place, and we offer some amazing programs that many schools don't, and programs that I've seen personally affect people as I've been here for the last 2 years and throughout school. We have teachers here that go above and beyond, and they don't get much recognition for it. And we have leaders within the community that truly do care about our students. That being said, I've also seen the disparities that many of our students face, and I want to bring a bigger focus to at least quell, if not end, the vaping and drug crisis that is going on within our high school. I want to see our elementary schools, and I think Mr. Bennett and Mr. Ovsenik would agree with me, I want to see our elementary schools not be construction zones. I want to see different things and I've been looking into this, different things to help quell the violence and the fighting that's happening in our schools. I'd like to see an increase in recognition as well as funding for our arts programs and our performing arts division. I'd like to see more programs like the breakfast carts that we have at our middle school, as well as our food bus that we have, and I think those are amazing. Just last night, I posted on Facebook an idea that I had for a donation center for sports equipment that's maybe a little more expensive that some of the students have to buy themselves because the school doesn't provide it. And I think most of what I'm envisioning for changes, that they're not massive, but I believe they are baby steps towards the continued growth and progress that our district is making. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Michael?
Thank you. From my experience and from everything I hear from other parents and community members, our school staff do an amazing job teaching and building great students. There are a few things that I think we could do to make our schools even more effective and more welcoming. I think the school district could focus more in early education on diversity in our schools. As has been said, Swartz Creek is a melting pot of people from Michigan, and I think we could help students understand the ways that people are different in terms of religious differences, racial differences, sexual orientation, socioeconomic, and neurological differences. I feel that if we focus this education on our children, we can build a system that has many fewer issues with bullying, fights, low self-esteem, and other issues. We also need to make school as easy as possible for working families, as they might have a less flexible schedule. What I mean by that is we need to focus on efforts that are easy to schedule for the working families, offering more programs and opportunities for parents either out of work hours, at the beginning and at the end of the day when it's easier to take time off. We need to review the elementary structure change when appropriate and see if it is working for our families in Swartz Creek who may have less time in the day to pick up or drop off kids at different schools, as well as seeing how much out-of-pocket costs have increased for childcare. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. The next question is, there's sometimes a perception in the community that our school board fails to question administrative decisions. How would you address that concern? The first person will be Leah.
Okay. We are here to represent and serve the parents and the children of the community. There are many voices and concerns for the day and season at hand. It is important that all aspects be placed on the table for review. It is important to please all with the myriad of circumstances and belief systems within any given community. Oh, it is impossible to please all with the myriad of circumstances and belief systems within any given community. As a Christian, I was taught to consider what God would or would not support. My faith reference is the Holy Bible, King James Version. In whatever role one plays in life, it is important to please God over man. This goes in regards towards the people and the powers that be. This principle can be placed over every aspect of life, like a template which guides one's reasoning. My duty as a Christian is to make sure that people are represented in the most wholesome, dignified, and biblically sound respect possible. Let us reason together when considering the pros and cons, the science and the faith, the evidence that reveals most promising to preserving the integrity and safety of our children's ever-evolving learning environment. As God's people, we are civil servants who are called to honor authority under God's rule. This does not mean we are called to be subjects who are unconditionally submissive to the government of this world. Much of the worldly government is not under God's rule and are not concerned with pleasing the Creator. Christians have a conscience that consciously question their motives and decisions in life, knowing that one day they will have to answer to their God and not just their earthly bosses or authorities. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. Next, we have Jason.
Sure. So I could truly understand that question as I've thought it myself as I watch board meetings and things, but I think to solve that, you can do some very simple things, and it's just a matter of open communication on the good and the bad, right? Being fully transparent on not just the good things that are happening, but the bad things that might happen, and to have those discussions as a group and make it known the steps that were taken to get to that decision. Sometimes parents don't want to hear the decision, but when they understand the rationale behind it, they understand it a little more. And I feel, I look at it the same way I do when I operate my business, and I give all the facts up front first, right? And I start with the negative, because they might not want to hear the negative, but they're going to understand why we come to those decisions on the positive. And I think the same goes to the school board when it comes to making decisions based on administrative recommendations or hearing things that they're being presented, and just being open, honest, and transparent completely with everybody along every step of the way. Sometimes it's no secret that you can't make everybody happy, but if you at least explain to them the why, they at least are a little more receptive to that. And I think it's just explaining the steps taken and the behind the scenes, because it's not always seen, but sometimes when you get it out there, it's understandable a little more.
Thank you. Jessica?
Thank you, yeah. In well-functioning organizations with boards, the majority of the activity and discussion is done at the committee level. Board meetings are primarily where the actions are voted on, with some discussion. And leaders of an organization typically will propose actions that they anticipate having support for, because let's be honest, who wants to be at odds with their board and or their community? And each board member, like the public, has an opportunity as well to discuss issues with our superintendent and or our board president, and we currently do that on a regular basis. And we have, each of us in the community has access from all the committee meetings. So it might be a little bit after the fact, but the community still has the information that we get as well, in part. Not all of it, because some of it has legal ramifications. But so, as someone who has attended the majority of committee meetings in the past few years, I can say that there are a lot of questions asked, and there's a lot of discussion that happens. I think our current board takes very seriously their responsibility to provide oversight and accountability to our district. Additionally, questions regarding are regularly asked during our board meetings. If our community has questions, I really encourage them to contact the school board members and to attend school board meetings and the committee meetings. Additionally, if they're able, and they're also able to make public comments. I think that there is also strength in admitting our weaknesses, so I will say I think there might be a misperception in our community due to a lack of communication and misunderstanding. Could the board and or individual members do a better job of engagement? Probably, and I really appreciated our town halls. It got me thinking that maybe doing something like that with our board and community might be beneficial. Could we do community surveys a little more often? Yes. Our community needs to understand that there are some things that just can't be discussed publicly.
Thank you. John?
Certainly. Well, I've been concerned about this as well. Being a student, I've certainly seen the perception and been part of the perception myself. And there does need to be a level of accountability when there are actions taken that aren't necessarily, I think, in our district's best interest. As an independent person, it's hard to sway me when I believe that something is right. And I've always tried to fight and stand up for what is right, at least what I believe is right. I would do my best not only to ensure that the issues that our community are facing are addressed, but that they're resolved. And if you know me, you know that, one, I've never exactly been quiet, but I've never had an issue with making sure people know where I stand on something and questioning my authorities. And if you elect me, you'll see that, one, I won't be swayed. I'm not going to be backed down, and I'll always try to do what's right for my community. So that's where I believe.
Thank you, John. Next, we have Michael, and I'll repeat the question one more time. There is a perception in the community that our school board fails to question administrative decisions. How would you address that concern?
As a school board member, my biggest priority would be to listen to Swartz Creek constituents. That means reading email, responding, engaging with people, and asking questions. It may be harder, but we are elected to listen, not just make decisions. I feel like one of the biggest issues that may have caused this perception in the recent past was the elementary school structure change. Parents emailed, called into the meeting where the decision was made, and still the decision was made against our wishes. We felt like we, the parents, the constituents, were not heard. We told them how hard this would be for students, teachers, and families in the midst of a never-before-seen pandemic. We understand that work is done in committee meetings. I don't believe those committee meetings are recorded, so it's not possible to watch them on YouTube afterward. And many of those committee meetings are either during the middle of the day or very early in the morning, and it's very hard for working people to attend. So what I would recommend for anyone who's on the board is, when you are making a decision at the board meeting, you need to explain why you're making that decision, You need to take everything in from all of the people who have talked to you, cite any opinions from constituents so that people understand that you really have listened. What I will do if I'm elected, I will have a 24-hour response time by email to constituents and staff. I will employ a Facebook page and a blog to explain any big decisions that we need to make, as well as ask for concerns and questions. I will ask for questions and comments on big issues from community members on the various Facebook groups and social media that we use. I will push for data and analysis that has not been done before. Constituents need to have their questions answered and all angles considered before making a huge decision.
Thank you, Michael. Next, we have Carrie.
So I want to thank you for this question. It might come as a strange response to the sitting board president and board member, but I think this is a great opportunity to explain some things. I can understand how some people might have the perception that based on what they see on board meetings, recordings, or YouTube, that we've just briefly discussed the agenda items, and then we act quickly on recommendations that might come from the superintendent and their team. But among other things, the role of the school board is to hire and evaluate the superintendent, our only employee, establish policies for the district, which are often based on law and directives from the state and federal government. The board also works with the administrative team to ensure that there's compliance with those policies. We set the goals for the district with the superintendent and team so that they can achieve the goals for our students. We adopt a budget annually, and it needs to support our student learning, our staff salaries, and the operations of the districts. And we also approve the district curriculum. By contrast, the superintendent is responsible for day-to-day operations of the district, and that's his lane. And he's evaluated by the board based on the goals that we establish. The superintendent and their team implement curriculum supported by the board within our adopted budget. Staff assignments and innovative approaches to educating students, such as the elementary model, are determined by administrators and staff. The superintendent and team make recommendations to the board. They share data, research, and information with board members during our 4 monthly committee meetings that were mentioned: policy, academic achievement, finance, and building and site. You're welcome to join us on those 7 a.m. Monday morning meetings, where we look at growth data, policy updates, financial performance, and updates. By the time these topics have been looked at by the board, recommendations have been discussed, we've looked at all of the things that we need to, and if we haven't, shame on us. It's up to us to do our due diligence, to ask questions, to do our homework, and to understand the variety of topics before we place our votes.
Thank you, Carrie. So let me say, we put out an opportunity for people to send us questions that they thought they wanted us to ask tonight to the candidates. Some of the questions were specific to a particular person. Some of them were questions that I don't feel comfortable asking, I'll be quite honest. What I did with those questions was I gave those to the specific person they were directed to. They had the opportunity to decide how they wanted to address it or not address it. It was up to them. There are a few other questions that we will ask now that none of the board members have seen until tonight. The first one we have is, if you had a chance to vote on the issue of elementary configuration during a pandemic, how would you have voted and why? And we are going to start now with Jason.
Okay. If I had that chance, I would have not voted to pass that during the pandemic. I think it was stated several times by a few board members that it just wasn't the right time, whether it be for the students' well-being, emotionally. There wasn't enough data to prove its success or failure, and it just didn't seem like this was the right time to make that decision, and especially in such a short time frame while the buildings were under construction, without knowing the outcome of the state's budget that was coming up on us, which obviously wasn't cut as much as it was thought it was. So I just think while the model might be right, and we don't know that yet, and it might be a great thing, it just was not the right time to push such a thing to go through with all the unknowns at the time and the current situation.
Thank you. The next one will be Jessica. Do you want me to repeat the question?
No, I
Okay.
got it. And so I'll say that I would definitely vote in favor of it. Again, I voted in favor for it the first time, and I was talking to a constituent the other day who said, I guess I didn't think that you listened to us. They live close to one of the elementaries, and then talking about it, my decision was not, the primary decision was not based on a financial reason. For me, the primary reason that I supported it was because our teachers, our staff, our professionals said, this is the best way for us to teach our kids. This is the opportunity for us to collaborate better. And I think about it in terms, if you're remodeling a house and you think you might want to move everything around next year, it kind of makes sense to do it when you're in the middle of the remodel, rather than having everything in place and moving everything from upstairs to downstairs and all around. And our kids had been out for a very long time. I understand that, and there are the stresses obviously with the pandemic. However, they don't have the same necessarily emotional attachment to the building that they're in because they've been away for so long. So in a variety of aspects, to me, it was actually the right time to do it, because we're never, ever gonna have all green lights to go anyplace. And we're gonna have hurdles, and we have, and I said this the night that I voted for it, is that, you know, it's kind of the same thing of what makes a house a home, and it's our staff. And I would have been comfortable when my kids were in elementary sending them to any one of our 5 elementaries, and that is still the case today. And when I heard people say that we had a teacher that sent us an email that said, I see now from being in an elementary into the middle school, the amazing ramifications, positive, that this can have for our students, all of that factored in. And the inconvenience for our parents was transportation and the PTO. Those were 2 very big issues, and we've worked to address those. So thank you.
Thank you. John?
Right, so on the issue of the reconfiguration of the elementary schools, I'm not a parent and I don't have kids that are in elementary, so I necessarily don't have the best perspective on this. So I asked the community, and from what I've heard from most of the parents that have talked to me about it, they don't think that it's working very well, but they want to let it ride out to see where it goes. And so if back then I had had a vote on this, due to what I've heard from the community, I would have voted no, because I don't believe many parents are in favor of this, and I don't think it's in the best interest of our community at this time.
Thank you. Michael?
I would have voted no as well. I feel like during a pandemic, when there is so much change going on, kids have to wear masks, parents can't come into the schools. We have many children who have IEPs and other behavior issues, and they've been at a school, and they know the staff there, they know the teachers there. When they're having an issue, they can get that fixed to the best of their abilities. Now they're at a different school, the staff don't know them, they have to wear a mask, their parents can't come into the school. It just made everything much more difficult in a time when things should have, our school system should have tried to make things as easy as possible. It also, to my knowledge, hasn't saved as much money as they said it would have saved. The class sizes haven't changed. My 3rd grade son, I believe, has 29 kids in his class, face-to-face. And we needed more data to prove that this was going to work. We needed to look at traffic patterns. We needed to look at how many families would be split by this. We needed to look at what would happen to our school of choice students. There was so much more that we could have looked at to figure out if this was really going to work. And the answer we got was, well, there's cases where it does work and there's cases where it doesn't work. Let's see how it goes, I guess. I would not have voted for this.
Thank you, Michael. Carrie?
So I will share that I'm a huge advocate of early childhood, lower elementary, focus on literacy as a foundation for everything else we do in our lives. And one of the factors that caused me to vote yes, and I would do it again, is that it's so important for our young children to learn to read effectively and be able to apply that learning across all of their subjects throughout their entire educational career and following their high school career. And if we do a good job there, we will have set our children up for strong success in everything that they do. We didn't know how much money it would save other than what we were projecting. But I do know that most of us did not make a financial decision. We made a children decision. It was focused on the students. I also knew that talking to some teachers and doing my research and reading, that the collaboration opportunities were incredible for the teachers. And I'm hoping, and I know that Mr. Michael will ask the teachers as he is through the survey, how they're doing, how is this working, and continue to get feedback from our stakeholders. Setting the upper elementary children up for the ability to change classes or become accustomed to different teachers, and then to also be successful in the middle school, which is a challenging place for any child, is very important socially, educationally. And so that's why I did support it. That's why I will support it. I did my homework, and I would do it again.
Thank you, Carrie. Leah?
Could you repeat the question?
I would love to. There's a perception in the community, oh, I'm sorry, wrong one. I need to wake up. If you have the chance to vote on the issue of the elementary reconfiguration during a pandemic, how would you have voted and why?
It just seems like it's a lot, like it would be overwhelming, you know, the change, but it would be nice if they could have reconstructed it, you know, during the summer and then not have to deal with it when school started. So I'm not sure exactly how that panned out, but yeah, you would definitely like do your homework and talk to the parents and find out all the details to see, you know, if it would be good. Children are resilient, you know, and they have been through a lot during this pandemic, but you don't want to overwhelm them. I know my daughter personally is overwhelmed. She's studying a lot and having to transfer and do everything on Zoom or the computer, and then it just seems like it's just too much. So we're asking a lot for our for our kids to adapt to this, you know, overwhelming situation we're dealing with in life. But you know, like I said, the good Lord, He gives us strength, and I think that we're resilient as a community. Swartz Creek is a fantastic community, and I think they're going to get through it no matter what. So if I would have voted, it's hard to say. I'd have to think about it, and I'm not quite sure 100% what I would have said, but you have to do your research to know for sure. So, but I'm not in favor of children being overwhelmed. So I probably would have said no. But
Okay.
That's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. The next question is, do you believe Black Lives Matter or other similar events should be allowed to happen on school property? The first one is going to be Jessica.
As a matter of fact, yes, by state law, they are allowed, anybody can congregate on the public area. It's what can be done within the school or physically on the school property. There were no laws broken by having a Black Lives Matter rally there. There could be any type of rally that forms there, but not use the school property or school resources.
Thank you. John?
Much like Ms. LeNave said, they are well within their right under the First Amendment to gather, to protest, and to make sure their voices are heard. Whether that be for racial equality, which I'm all for, or any other issue, I think it's well within their right to do that, and I support their right of doing that.
Thank you, John. Michael?
I agree with what the two candidates have already said. It is legal. The school administration did the right thing. I was very proud of our students and the staff that did that. The staff did that on their own time, obviously, not as directed by the school. One of the things we've heard tonight is we need to teach students how to think, not what to think. And so if we allow them to get out there and do their civic duty to protest what they believe, then we are letting them learn how to think. And I will say, not to get negative, I felt it was shameful that some of the students and staff were harassed by people in our community. I think those people need to be called out by their friends and relatives, and those people need to realize that that's not okay.
Thank you, Michael. Carrie.
I am proud of those students and the staff as well. And the district did nothing wrong. They allowed that group to assemble on our grounds, and they took their peaceful protest elsewhere, much like we allow any other group that requests to assemble on our grounds. That doesn't mean that we can have a huge rally on our grounds, but if we do it for one, we do it for all. And I will go back to, it's their right, and they did it very appropriately, and I think they represented our community very well. So I would support that.
Thank you, Carrie. Leah.
Freedom of speech is number one. Everybody has a right to express themselves, for sure. But it should be peaceful protest, for sure. And it's okay to have people go debate. Debate is healthy debate, for sure. And so if you have somebody on the other side there not exactly agreeing, it's okay that you come together and talk. And I had witnessed that actually at the memorial there in Swartz Creek. I was there when there was 2 Black Lives Matter. There was one with the students. There was one over there by the library, and they came and they talked with the veterans that were there to protect the memorial, because the Black Lives Matter are known to be destructive with the Antifa. They collaborate, and it's scary, and you don't want them to come and destroy your community. So it's good to discuss your beliefs, but it's not good to be destructive. And so be respectful, when you're trying to express yourself in a dignified way, for sure. And I support freedom of speech, 100%.
Thank you, Leah. Jason.
I think everybody's, said exactly the way I feel as well. I would most definitely support it. Nothing illegal. It promotes diversity, as long as it's peaceful and, gets the students and the staff involved and the ability to express themselves. Absolutely nothing wrong with it.
Okay. So we had planned on an hour and a half tops to do this tonight, and we also had planned on 3 more people to be here. The other questions that have not been addressed, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give each of you a couple minutes to close up and say what you need to say, whatever you want to do for 2 minutes. I'm going to give you that option. Be nice, be kind, be appropriate. I don't think I have to tell you that, but I'm used to being around little kids, so I say that. All right, we're going to start off with John.
Okay, so before this meeting, it was brought to me that there was a question of my support of fascism and racism. And I would like to openly say I don't support fascism, and by no means do I support racism. I think they're both very wrong, and I think they're evil, okay? On top of all of that, I would like to say one nice thing about each of you, if that's all right. Mr. Ovsenik, Mr. Bennett, you're both fathers, very, very involved in the community, from coaching to this, and I think that's a splendid thing, and I admire that. Miss LeNave, if your daughter Bella, who I know personally, if she's anything a reflection on you, that means you're a great person, and you're doing an astute job of raising her. Miss Davis, I don't know you as well, but you do have a very firm faith in God, and that's respectable at the least, and you are fighting for your rights, and I respect the heck out of that. Ms. Germain, you are the president of the board, and you are a role model to many young women, and I think that is just an absolutely amazing thing from you personally, giving little girls someone to look up to in the community. I think that's great. To close out for myself, if you elect me, I'll listen to my community. I will make sure that your voices are heard, not just for students, not just for parents, not just for teachers, but for everyone in the community, as that's important to me. I thank you all for being here tonight. Everyone have a good night.
Thank you. Michael.
What I wanted to tell everyone is that I'm a parent of kids who are going to be in our schools for 13 years, so I'm well invested in every decision that will be made. I am data-driven, so I like to see all of the data in front of us before I make any kind of decisions. I'm a listener. I have confirmed that I will respond to your email or question within 24 hours. I think that's very important. I want to see people in the community actively engaged in our local school board and any other local politics that they want to be engaged in. I would recommend that you check out vote411.org. It's put on by the League of Women Voters. There's all kinds of information on there about each candidate, as well as in the Swartz Creek View this week. I don't think it was in the print edition, but I know it was online. There's a lot of information about each candidate there. You can choose your most qualified candidates based on what you research. And the last thing is vote. It's the most important thing you can do as an American, and I think everyone should do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Carrie?
Sure. So I want to close by again thanking our teachers, our administrators, and staff. We cannot thank them enough. Do it often because they've worked tirelessly on behalf of our students and their families. And so despite our current challenges, I mentioned earlier, great things are happening in the Swartz Creek School District, from the curriculum enhancements that are being led by our talented administrators and teachers, to the bond projects that will positively impact this community for generations to come. Look at that athletic complex when you leave here. That's just one example, all the additions to the schools, those that are coming and those that are almost done. Our district is committed to providing our students with an exceptional educational experience, and we must sustain and promote the progress that we're seeing so that Swartz Creek will be that destination district, so that we will grow and we will attract families to our community. I want to thank my fellow candidates for being here tonight and for your interest in being a school board member. It takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of time, and then when you're on the board, it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of time. So just fair warning to all of us. But I do appreciate your dedication and your commitment to service to the community. I look forward to continuing to serve our children, their families, and the community on this Board of Education. And I want to thank everybody. I want to thank, again, Wanda. I want to thank Robin. I want to thank Heather. This takes a lot of effort. And then our control booth. Thank you so much, you guys. I know it's hard so that everybody can hear what we're saying and they can see us in a very safe environment. So thanks to all of you. And I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Leah?
I would like to wrap up what I was trying to say with question number 1, if that's okay. That I believe contract tracing is a government overreach that violates HIPAA and causes fear-mongering and paranoia. I do not believe the tests show true infection for COVID. They cannot be trusted or relied on 100%. There are too many variables and censorship of valid information. It is easy not to trust what the authorities are enforcing. The disease is reportedly affecting people less than 1% worldwide, with children being even less susceptible. I don't believe we should live in fear. We did not do so during the swine flu pandemic, which had more direct effect on children becoming ill. Why are we panicking now? Is it politics? Masks can be distracting for children from concentration, a provoker of anxiety, and even cause contracting of the virus due to the overuse of the same mask, frequent touching and fidgeting with the facial covering throughout the day. Some may argue the strict rules are teaching more over compliance with authority as opposed to helping prevent a virus. People have been known to test positive for COVID even though they are wearing a mask. As civil servants, we are to question everything for checks and balances. Are we more afraid of covering our own liabilities as opposed to doing what's right for the kids? There is a Michigan School Code revised from 1976 Act 451. It prohibits any restraint that negatively impacts breathing. Breathing is a basic need and an inalienable right. See legislature.mi.gov. There needs to be a motion to investigate this further. The elected officials, including school board, superintendent, and teachers, are liable to stand up for the Michigan Constitution. I personally feel it should be the choice of the family and child. No one should be forced to cover their face. If you are worried about contracting a virus, then you have the choice.
Thank you, Leah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, the time is
All
up.
right, thank you.
Jason?
Got it. First, I'd like to thank you guys for putting this on, and for all those that came out and are tuned into it, and the rest of the candidates for coming out, and Jessica and Carrie for your service to the district over the time you've been on the board as well. So I kind of want to circle back around to my background and what I feel I could bring to the board and to the community as well. I serve as the Director of Operations for U.S. and International Operations of a restaurant franchise group, with a strong focus on budgets, training development, strategic objectives, and overall operations. So I think that the knowledge from that in my professional background will help when it comes to district planning and policy and strategic objectives and budgets and things like that. I also, like Mike, am vested in the community for the next 13 years, as my youngest is a kindergartner, and as well as the students' education and the teachers and staff of the district. My wife also works for Elms Road, and I feel that I have a great connection with not only the parents, the staff members within those buildings, but the community as a whole, and would listen to that voice and their considerations before making judgment or making decisions.
Thank you, Jason. Jessica.
Thank you again for doing this tonight. Thank you for everybody sitting out there. I just want to say I have and appreciate the varied perspectives about our district. We may not always have the same opinion or view. However, I have and will listen and do my best to understand and address the needs and desires of our district and our community, to make decisions for our students, staff, and community in that order based on what's in their best interest. That constituent that I mentioned who was upset across from one of the elementary schools, and after we talked and I explained my reasoning about why I voted the way I did, their response was, I can understand that. I guess sometimes we hear what we want to hear. And then that we did listen to you parents. We tried then, and we will continue to try to continually address whatever concerns to make it to run as smoothly and be as effective as possible. If it's not already obvious, people's experience with the Swartz Creek School District is important to me. I hope that you will please consider me a thoughtful, enthusiastic, committed candidate. I am confident I will continue to be an asset and engaged school board member for the Swartz Creek District. And I want to thank everybody for your time, consideration, and your support. I appreciate it. Have a great night.
Thank you, Jessica. In closing, I want to say thank you to Mr. Manka for allowing us to do this tonight. I want to say a big thank you to Travis and his crew. Without them, this would have been a hot mess. No other way to put it. Thank you guys for showing up. Thank you guys for running. When we seen the list that there were 9 candidates, honestly, I was a little bit frightened. I thought, how are we going to do this? But yet, on the other hand, I was very excited to have 9 people interested in being on to be honest with you, a board it's hard to do. Nobody loves you. This is a very thankless job. I'm excited that 9 people were interested. Thank you all so much. Please go vote. Please share this with your friends. Make sure everybody is knowledgeable about who they're voting for, and have a good night.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heather.
Thanks, Heather. Thanks for being an incredible timekeeper.
Survive.